Okay, welcome guys. This is Mr. Ndabezita once again, and this time I just want us to look at something that I thought is very important and worthy of sharing it with you guys. So what we will do simply is to look at a few classes that I have created. As you can see on the side, we have these classes, and the first one is this one that I have created, which is an abstract class, and it's called an animal. And I've made this class possible so that I can have access to it even when I am outside of this class. And there are some few things that I want us to have inside of this class, as it will be acting as a base for inheritance. So the first thing that I think we should have in here is to have just a few members. And of course, these members that we will have in here, it will only be one member, by the way, and it will be a protected member. So the member will be protected. It will be of type string, and I will just call it name. So remember, with protected members, we have access to the protected members even if we are outside of this class. If we use inheritance, it will be available within the members of the family, those that inherit from the animal class. So this is a protected member. It's of type string. Let's just have a property that will be able to allow us to manipulate this protected member name. So we are going to have a public property which will be of type string, and I will also call this name. So I will have a get that will be able to return the protected member, which is name, and I will also have a set that will set the name to the value that you provide for us there. Very important that we understand that. So we just having this protected member, we having a property. So let me just tag here and just say this is a field member. This is just a field. Okay, let me just do this. It's a field member, and this one, it's a property name. And if we just have over here, wait, if I just click here, you can see that the property returns a protected member, and the property sets a protected member in there. So everything is fine, everything is working just fine. So let me just tag and say and the property that we have. All right. So when I am outside of the property, I think it is very important that we can just try to have a constructor that will allow us to be able to construct our object whenever we create one, if ever it will be possible. But we know that an abstract class cannot be instantiated. We cannot create objects of the abstract class. So let's just have a constructor. Remember, they are always public and they are having the same name as the name of the class. And then this is just going to be a default constructor that accepts no parameters. I'm going to use the fat arrow there, and what I want to do there is just to have a right line, and the right line that just says the animal with no name. This is just the printout that you will have whenever you access this constructor via a family member, it will be able to print out this right line, the animal with no name. So this is just a default constructor. Let me have a non-default one. In other words, a constructor that accepts arguments, and it will just accept one argument that will be of type string, which I will just call let me just say new name, and I'm going to use a fat arrow there, and then I'm going to say name equals the new name that was passed in. So what am I doing here? I'm taking in the name that you have assigned when you invoke this constructor, and I'm passing that name to the protected member. So the protected member will store the name that you have passed in when you instantiate the animal or whenever you use inheritance. But I'm going to show you how this will work. And then after doing that, what is it that we can do next? Now let's just have a method. It will be public because I want to have access to this method whenever I am not necessarily using the animal class. So it will be public. The return type, it will return void, and the name of the method will be feed. It will accept no parameters. And then what does the feed method does? I'm going to use the fat arrow once again here, and I just want to have a printout whenever you invoke this method. And let me use interpolation. All I want to do there, I just want to say whatever your name is, you have been fed. This is all that I want to say there. So whenever you pass in a name in this constructor, it will take that name and set that name to the protected member here. And then when you invoke the feed method, it will take that name that is inside of the protected member, and it will say that whatever name has been fed. So this is just something that I want to have inside of this abstract animal class that is public. Okay, now I can go to chicken in here, and I want to use inheritance by having those two columns because chicken is an animal, so it will inherit from an animal. And let us just check here, and class, or you can say and the chicken, and here it will be and our namespace. All right, so what is it that I want to do inside of this class, which I call chicken? Now one thing that I want to do in here is just to have a constructor. First of all, it will be public. It will have the same name as the name of the class. Now because chicken is using inheritance, it inherits from animal. Animal has a constructor that accepts a string, so chicken must also have an argument that is of type string, which I will call name. And then I want to call the constructor of the base class, so you use those two columns and then you say base, and then from there you just say name. And I want you to see something in here. So when we say name there, and then because there are no any other additional members, in here, therefore I'm going to leave this as it is. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. If maybe there was an additional information that I want to expose inside of chicken, maybe I would say private. Okay, let me not make it, yes, let me just say private, because I just want to show you this. Suppose this is a string, and I just want to say this is model number. This is the model number of a chicken. So I would have came here and then I would have put a comma like this and now say int and then maybe just say model. And then when I come in here, I could have now said that the model is equals to the model number. I could have done this. So I am initializing the model number in here. But because I do not want to have any additional member inside of chicken, so I'm going to remove this and I'm going to remove that and I'm going to place it right there and I'm going to remove this. So this is what I want. I don't have any additional member, therefore I'm not doing anything inside of these curly braces. Very important that we understand that. And then when you say base in here and you say name, it is going to invoke the base name of the animal. So it will go to animal and it will look at the constructor of an animal. It will take that name and assign it to name, but that will transpire inside of the chicken class. It will take the name of the base, and when you assign chicken, it will be able to do that via the constructor of the animal, because you are calling in a constructor of the base. But you will see this clearly as we continue. So I just want to have a public return void method, which I will call, because it is a chicken. I know that chickens lay eggs, so let's just say lay an egg. Remember, it's just a method that will accept no parameters. I'm going to use the fat arrow. Let me just have a right line statement, and it will just say let's just say name, and I want you to see now here, right in here, look, we have access to the property, and also we have access to the name. And I want you to be careful of something here. This name is not the same as that. The first letter of the name is capitalized in here, and this one refers to the name, the protected member, because it will be made available inside of chicken because it is protected, and it will be inherited by the hierarchy of the family. This is how a protected member works. We will have access to that protected member that is inside of the animal class because we have used inheritance. It will be as if it is inside the chicken class, right? So I just want to say whatever the name of the chicken is has laid an egg. This is just the message that I want to display in there. All right, be that as it may, let us try to continue in this. Let us just try to continue in this, right? Let us see what else we can do in there. Is there any other thing that we want to do in here? I don't think so. Let's just leave it the way in which it is. So we are going to have the last class, which is public, which is cow. Cow also, it's an animal, so it will inherit from the animal, and it will have access to all the public methods and fields and properties that are made available inside of the animal class. It will be as if they are inside here. So let me just take the bracket just to say end cow there. And then one most important thing that I want to have here, it's a constructor that will be able to initialize cow. Remember, it must be public. It should have the same name as the name of the class. Now, because there's a constructor inside of animal that accepts one argument of type string, the same thing is going to happen inside of cow, and I'm just going to call this name, and then I call the constructor of the base, and I'm just saying pass in the name for me there. And then because I don't have also any additional members inside of cow, therefore I'm going to leave this as it is. And then lastly, what I want is just a public method that returns a void, and then I know that a cow drink milk, so I'm going to have this as a milk, and then I'm going to use the fat arrow and just have a right line there, and I'm going to use interpolation sign, and I just want to say there, I just want to say I just want to say whatever the name of the cow is has been milked. This is all what I just want to do in there. This is just all. Right. Before we can go anywhere, let me just see whether Camtasia is still recording. Okay. It is still doing the work. Let me just do this very quickly, very quickly. Okay guys, let us continue in this. Let us just try to continue and see how far we can go with all this. Right. So this is all what I want to have in here. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, let us go to the main. Let us just go to the main and see what functionalities we can encapsulate inside of these three classes that we have. First of all, it is important. Let us just try to have a heading that would in fact, let me just have a title of my console and just say Papa Fanzo. Let's just have that title. It is very important. And then let us just have a right line, and the right line is just to tell what whoever is viewing this code exactly what is it that we want to do here. So what we want to do, we just want to create an array type collection of animal objects, and we want to use it. This is just the heading that we have, and let's just bring in the thread. Don't sleep, it will sleep for 3000 milliseconds. Right, and then let us now create this array type collection and see what we can do with an array type collections. What are the limitations? And then we will build on top of that. So I'm going to have an animal class. This is a sign that I'm creating an array, and I'm going to call this animal array. So let me just say animal array, and this animal array that I have will be equal, I'm reserving memory for this new animal, and I specify the number of objects that I want to have in there. Now I only have 2 objects. Remember, this one, it's never gonna be an object because it is an abstract class. It cannot be instantiated. So these ones are public, therefore I can have only 2 classes, so 2 objects in a sense. So I just want to have those two objects in there. And then let me try to add chicken and cow inside of this animal array that I have. So first of all, I'm going to create an instance of a cow, which I will call my cow equals new cow. But remember, cow has a constructor that accepts a string name. Very important. It accepts a string name, and I'm just going to call this layer will be the name of the cow. Okay, that is fine. So what I can do, I can now go, because now I have created an instance of cow, I can go to my animal array, and then what is it there? I can specify the position. At position at index 0, I want to add this cow object that I have just created. Let us see whether this has been successful. It is very important that we try to check whether that has been so or not. So I'm going to have a right line in there just to show you an example, and I'm going to say animal array at position 0, and let me just have the dot there, and then I just want to see whether I can have that name, just to see whether it is truly added inside of my array. Let's just try to check that. Let us just try to check that. So let us just wait for the build to complete up, and then we could continue with this. Let us try to check into that. It's taking a little bit of time, but please be patient. Be patient. We still have a long walk to continue with you. Very long. We are trying to demonstrate something here. So we have created an array type of animal objects and use it, and we can see that it has been successfully added inside of our array list, and then the name has been printed successfully there as a layer. So the animal object or the instance has been added inside of the animal array. Okay, that is fine. That was just trying to demonstrate to you. We know that we have two objects that we need to add inside of the animal array. Now, to add the second object, there are two ways to do this. You can say you can create an instance of chicken like this. You can say chicken, and you can say the name is chicken, and you can say this is equals to new chicken, and then remember it accepts a name of type string, and you can say maybe Andrea. This is one way of doing this. And then you can go and say animal array at position 1 it's equals to, and you can have your chicken inside them. So inside, oh sorry, animal array, there it is. So you know that inside of your array at index 1 you have chicken. You can do it in this way, or you can do it in the following way. You can say animal array at position 1 equals, and then you can use the new, you can cast it there, you can say new, and then you can say chicken, new chicken, and you can give it a name, and maybe you can say Lee. So we are just creating very important. Let us try to look into this. Oh, chicken there. So you are creating memory for that, and then you are storing your chicken inside of your animal array in this way. So this is exactly the same as that, but this, as you can see, requires less coding. So let us remove this one. Let us remove that one. So by using the new keyword, I'm reserving memory for this chicken object that I call Lee. Very, very important. This is highly important. So this is the same as that, but it does two jobs here. This one create an instance of chicken which we call Lee. At the very same time, it is storing that inside your animal array at position 1. Whereas this one create an instance first, my cow, and then after on the next line of code stores that inside of the animal array at position 0. So it is very, very important that we understand that. Now the question is, can we do the very same thing we have done here for my cow? Let us try to check whether that will be successful. So I'm going to comment this one and that one. And what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to say animal array, I'm going to say animal array at position 0 is equal, and I'm going to cast a new cow, and then I'm going to pass in the name there as no. Will this work? This is the question that we are asking ourselves. Now let us go and check. Now I'm going to use a for each loop that will be able to loop through inside of our array. So I'm going to use animal since it's the base class, and I can just call this animal in my animal array. Very good. And then what I'm going to do in there, I just want to have a right line that will be able to loop through inside there and be able to tell me whatever that I want. So here I'm just going to print out the names just as a simple basic thing. So I'm going to say animal, you use this variable in here which acts as an object, so you use the name, the object animal. So this it's a variable, but it's more like an object to me in order to print out whatever that you want. So I'm going to say animal dot, and I'm going to use name there, and this is all that I just want to do. I just want to print out those names just to find out whether they are inside of the animal array or not. So this is just one thing that I'm going to do. And then let's just wait for it. So we have Noah and Leah. So we have been very successful, very much successful in storing those two objects inside of our array. So we might as well just get rid of that as well. So we are trying to simplify our coding in here, but because we are not in that, right, what is it that I wanted to do in there? What is it that I wanted to do in there? Now that I have been able to create two objects and I have been able to store those objects inside of my array, now I want to have a for each loop. I'm going to use the base class, and I'm going to call this my animal. So I'm going to call this my animal in what? In my animal array. And then the first thing that I want to do in here is to say my animal dot to string, just to give me some information that you will see displayed on the screen. Okay, sorry, Let me do this. Let me have a right line because I want to print this out. Let me just have a right line, and I'm going to use interpolation in most of the coding that we will be making inside here. So in here, let me just do this, and let me just do that. Right, so I'm going to say my animal dot to string object is added. It has been added to an array collection. Very good. And then I'm going to say the name is equal, and I'm going to say my animal dot name in there. So let me just do that. Right, so what I'm trying to do in here is to just have a printout that will be able to loop through inside of my animal array, and just for the first object it will display some information from my animal.toString object added to the array collection, and then it will provide us with those names. So let us see exactly what is it that we are going to have inside here. I'm just going to try and do this, try to place this in here. Okay, let me just enlarge that. So this is what you have when you say my animal.toString. It will go to using there the class where it belongs. It belongs inside of array list objects, and then it is .cow. So it is a cow object, and it has been added to the array collection, and the name of that cow is Noah. There it is. And then secondly, the very same one belongs to the array objects.chicken, was added to the array collection, and the name is Lee. This is just the basic information that we want to have. That's all what we want to have. I can get rid of that. Right, so what is it that we can do with array type of collections of this type of an array? Is there anything that we can do? Are there any special functionalities that we can have in there? Let us try to investigate that. Let us try very much to investigate that. So first of all, I want to have a right line that might just give me the length of the array that I have thus far. So I'm going to say array collection contains, and then I'm going to say my animal array. Remember, I'm now outside of the for each loop. I'm not going to say my animal. That was inside, that was a variable inside of a for each loop. I'm outside now. I'm using animal array. So I'm going to say animal array, and there is a method there that is called count. So I'm going to say, in fact, we cannot use the count in here, because if you use the count, let me show you something. Using the count there, it says it returns the number of elements in a sequence. So when you do this in there, you see extension int I enumerable animal count t. It is also looking for the source. So we are not going to use that one. So we are going to use animal array dot length. And as you can see there, gets the total number of elements in all the dimensions of the array. So this is exactly what we want. We want the length, how many objects exist inside there. So I'm going to say array collection contains whatever objects. Maybe it will say 2, 3, 4, 5 objects that are found inside there. So let me not print this out. Let me print the other one, just this line that we have in here, so that we can see the length. And you can see that this is a property that exists inside of the array, and then that is able to print how many of the elements of type object are inside there. So array collection contains 2 objects, and there are only 2 objects inside of this animal array. We know that is cow and chicken. Be that as it may, let us try to continue in this. Let us try to continue. So what is it? What are the functionalities that we might get? Suppose I want to go inside of this animal array, and then I want to stand at position 0 where I know that I have a chicken object, and see whether I can have access to the methods that are stored inside of this chicken. So I will say, go inside of my animal array, stand at position 0 where I have an object or an instance of a cow, and then show me by using the dot what are the special functionalities or methods or whatever properties that I can have access to in there. Right, when I press the dot, I have access to name, so I can be able to change the name, because remember in there I have a get. I can get the name, which is Noah, and I can also set that name, so I can override the name that is inside of that object. And then secondly, I have access to the feed method in there, so I can just go and try to print out that method. There's no problem with that, and so on. Right, what is it that I want to do in there? Okay, at position 0, let us just try to have this method. Let me copy this and paste, and also stand at position 1 and just make a printout for me of the method that is inside of chicken. So it will go inside of chicken, but remember we don't have such a method inside of chicken, and also inside of cow, but because we are using inheritance and that method is public inside of animal, it will be as if it is inside of these 2 classes. So let us just try to have a printout and see exactly what we can have in there. So it is saying Noah has been fed and Lee has been fed. We understand how that is achieved. I have explained that when we were continuing in this. So what has happened inside there? Remember, it will go inside of animal, it will call the base constructor of the animal, and whatever name that you have passed in when you constructed a cow will be it saved inside of here, and it will invoke this method with that name that you have set for cow and chicken, and it will say that name has been fed. Nothing new with this. Be that as it may, why am I not seeing the other methods in here? Why are the other methods not made available in here? Why is it in that way? So what is it that I can do in order to have access to the methods that are inside of chicken and cow, such as lay and egg? So to do that, we need to cast. So how do we cast? We have the brackets. We used casting even in here. We did the very same thing. So I'm going to use specifically the type of method that I want to access. Where is that method? The first one is inside of cow. So you're going to use the name of that class, which is cow. And then from there, you are going to go inside of your animal array, stand at that position 0, and then use the dot there. And then when we use the dot, is there anything happening? No. Okay, let's come here, press the dot, and there we are. And then when we stand there using the dot, it seems like there's a problem in here. It seems like there's a problem in here. Okay, let me just do this. Let me do the following. Let me say cow, and let me say animal array, stand at position 0, and then use the dot. And still I don't have access to that method. There seems like there's something wrong. Okay, let me stand outside and see if there's anything. Yes, there it is. Now I have access to that method which we call milk, that exists inside of cow. And the very same thing can happen with chicken. I can specify that I want to go inside of the chicken class, and via my position I know that it is at position 1, and I have a method inside there. Let us just try to see that method. There it is, lay eggs. So in order to have access to those methods that are inside of chicken and inside of cow, you will need to use casting. And then let us try to see whether this is going to work out or not. Right, so there they are. Noah has been milked and Lee has laid an egg. And we can go inside of cow. We know that we have the name that comes from the base. As you hover over here, you see field string animal dot name. So this is the name that comes from the base class that was instantiated via a constructor, and then it was printed inside here. So in other words, when we invoke this method, what it will do, it will go inside of the base class, which is animal. It will take that name and assign that name to cow, whatever name that you have assigned to cow via the base, and then it will come here and print that name. This is exactly what is happening in here. So this is all what we can do. I want to show you something. When we say dot here, unfortunately, this is all what we have access to with the arrays. We can check if they are equal. We can have access to feed, get hash code, get type, lay eggs, and so on, dot to string. So there is no any other special functionalities that we can have with the array. So there are limitations. In other words, we are not able to add from this, we are not able to remove from this. So our list or our animal array remains fixed, and we cannot normally remove or add into that array once we have specified the value. And even if you did not specify the value, you would still have limitations when it comes to an array type of collection. So these are the limitations that we have with this. Now, having seen that, I think it is very important that let me just try to draw a line, just as a way of showing that we are done with this. So secondly, now let us now bring an array list into this and see exactly what is happening. So let me just have first a heading, and the heading will just tell us the following. So this time we are trying to create an array list type of collection. So I might as well just copy the heading there. I might as well just copy this and paste it there. but this time we are creating an array list type collection of animal objects, and we are going to use it. So how do you do that? You type in array list, there it is, and then you give it a name. Let us give it a name as animal array list. So I'm going to say animal, let's call it an animal array list, and this is equals to new. We are trying to reserve memory for that, right? And then in here you do not have to specify the number of objects that you are going to create. This is the first difference that we need to note from the array list and the normal type of an array. When you reserve memory for a normal type of an array, you need to specify how many objects you will have. With an array list, you do not have to specify. You can have as many objects as you wish. Very, very important that we note that. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do inside there is to go to my animal array list .add, and I'm going to have a new, not animal, but I'm going to have a new. Should I start first with a cow? Yes, that's fine. New cow. And I'm going to give it a name. So let's give it a name as Donna, as the name of this object that we have just added inside of our array list. And the same thing can happen. I can just copy this and paste, just as we did there. We are doing the same thing, but this time we are adding. In order to have your array list, to initialize your array list with elements, we use the .add method. This add methods add the object inside of your array list, right? And then secondly, let's call this Andrea. Very good. So Donna and Andrea have been added inside of your animal array list. This is very, very important that we understand that they have been added inside there. And to check whether that is true, let us go and use a for each loop. A for each loop that will be able to loop through, and I'm going to use the animal class since it is the base class. And then what is it that I'm going to call this? I'm going to call this my animal. I'm going to call this my animal in animal array list. In my animal array list. Very, very important. And then what is it that I want to do when I am inside there? All right, here can I just have a right line? Let me just have a right line just to create some space. And then can I just have a thread here? Thread dot sleep. Oh, sorry. And let it sleep for 3000 milliseconds also. All right. And then from there, I want to go inside of my for each loop. And what is it that I want to do when I am inside them? I just want to have a right line, and I'm going to use interpolation. And what is it that I want to do when I am inside them? I want to do the very same thing that I did previously. So I'm just going to say my animal dot to string object is added to the array list collection. And I can also say name equal, and I can just say my animal dot, and I have access to name them. This is all what I just want to do. But because we are no longer working in here, can you please just allow me to comment that? Can you just please allow me to comment until where? Until in here. Right, let us comment all that because we are done with all this. So let us just try to run our code and see exactly what we can get from this. Okay. So we have create an array list type of collection of animals and use it. So we have ArralistCow object is added to the array list, and the name now check. The name is Donna and Andrea. So they have been successfully added inside of my animal array list, and these are the objects that I have. Okay, that is fine, and I can verify that. I can come here, I can copy this, and I can paste it there. And what I can do in there, I can use my animal array list, but in here I am not going to use the length because it is an array list. There is a property in there that we call count. So that counts the number of objects that you are having in there. And we can just quickly check that. Array collection contains 2 objects. No, let us not say array. Let us say array list. Array list collection contains that number of objects. Now, it is fine. It is very much fine. So let us go inside there and try to have access to the method feed, and also have access to the methods milk and lay eggs. So I can say animal array list at position 0 dot, and when I do that, I come across some problems. I don't even have access to a property and even the feed methods there. I just have access to nothing there. So the question is, how am I going to do that? So this is not the right way to do it. So with an array list, in order to have access to that, I think I need to use casting. So I'm going to say animal, since it is the base class, animal, and then I'm going to say animal array list at position 0, and then I'm going to use the dot. And when I use the dot, now I have access to feed, and I also have access to the name. These are just a few things that I have access to. I just have access to that, because remember, I'm not specifying here whether I want to have access to the methods the functions that are inside of cow or chicken. So inside of animal, I just want to have access to this method which we call feed. That's all. And I can copy this and just go to an object one and just print that out and just see whether things will happen the way in which I want or not. And then when we hover over here, animal array list is not null here. Dereference of a possibly null reference. Do we want to fix anything? I don't think that we want to do that. We just want to leave things the way in which they are. Let us try to run this and see whether it will truly do what we want or not. So Donna has been fed and also Andrea has been fed. So as long as it prints out what we want, we don't have a problem with that. So in order, there are many things that we can do in here. There are a lot of things that we can do in there. Lots of things. Now what we can do in there, if I want to have access to the methods that are inside chicken and cow, let me just copy this and let me paste it there. I can cast using a chicken class there, and then what I can do there is to say using the dot, and I can have access to lay eggs, and I can also come here and I can use a cow class, and using casting I can have access to a method inside there which we call milk. I can have access to all that, and I can try to print there. Oh, there is an unhandled exception. Okay, let us try to check that. Line 42. There seems to be a problem at line 42. Now we need to be very careful there. Now let us look. Remember, at position 0 we have a cow, not chicken. So let us be very careful there. At position 0 we have a cow, and then here we have a chicken. And then in here, let us just try to change that and have access to milk. And in here, let us try to have access to lay egg. And let us now try to run. So it is very important that you look very closely at what index do you have a particular type of an object. It is very important that you note that. Okay, let me just do this, and we still have an unhandled exception, and it is at line 43. So chicken, oh, you see what I have done? I should have set at position 1. I'm very sorry for that, guys. We are trying to do all these things so that at the end of the day we are learning something. So Jesus, what is wrong now? Okay, we are still having a problem at line 43. So we have chicken animal array list at position 1 dot lay an egg. So why do we have an error there? Because I know that at position 0 I have a cow, there it is. At position 1 I have a chicken. So I'm trying to access those methods, and this line seems to be a problem. Let us try to press in here and check exactly what might be the cause of the problem. Let us try to check why this is so. Okay, let me just run it. Can I please just comment this and just comment that and try to run this for another time.
Okay, I'll use 3 cloves of garlic. I'll chop them again. I'll slice them actually.
Andrea has been fed and Donna has been milked. And which methods are these?
Then add everything together. Potato,
They are these methods:
and spinach.
milk and lay. Oh, they are not printed out. Okay, why are they not printed out? Why are they not printed out? Why are they not printed out? So here I have a cow, animal array list at position 0 dot milk, chicken, animal array list at position 1. Okay, let me do this and let me try to run this. Let us try to investigate what might be the reason for this error. And you see, this method was not printed out. There might be a reason for this, but we will solve it. We will solve it in just a few minutes. I just want to have a break, and then we will solve that. Okay guys, let us continue in this. We are having some problems in here, and I'm trying to troubleshoot what might be the cause of such a problem. Now, I have used casting in here. I have said, for example, let me do this. I have said chicken. Here we are. So I have said chicken in my animal array list at position 1 dot lay eggs. And that should be enough to allow us to have an output in here. Sorry. That should be enough. That should be very much enough. So let me just come here. Okay, wonderful people. Let us continue in this. So I remember last time, this is where we left off. I'm very sorry, I had to attend to something very quickly, and we left off in there. So what is it that we want to accomplish this time? Let me just think very quickly. So here it's where we ended. We cast a chicken object or a class in that sense, to be able to have access to the public method that was inside of the chicken class. Okay, be that as it may, I want us to continue in this. So what I'm going to do, just to bring the keyboard online, with the rest of the material. There they are. Jesus, everything is well. So I think the very first thing that we need to do is just to have a right line statement that would just create a line for us. Are we still fine? Very good. So where is the autocomplete now? Where is it? There it is. Let me just have a right line. So this is just something that we have learned based on the normal arrays that we have created. We have been able to see how things work in here. They are so much limited. We cannot add to this array. We cannot remove the elements. Nevertheless, we can try to find a way to find the index of each object there are some ways in which we can do that with a normal array, so they have so much limitations. Now we are going to just focus our attention onto something else. We're going to try very much to compare the normal array with an array list and see whether we can have some extra functionalities. So the very first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a right line. I think it is very important, and in this right line I'm just going to create something like a heading that tells whoever interacting with this code what we are now trying to do. So I'm just going to have a heading that say create an array, a list type collection of animal objects and use it. So this is just the heading that I'm going to have, and after having this heading I can just have a thread there and just take it and place it in here. Let me go a little bit up. There we are. And then after loading, I think it is time that I should create this array list. So the first thing that you do when you create an array list, there it is, you just type array list and then you give it a name. I think we can just call this an animal array list. So I'm going to call this an animal array list, and I'm going to reserve memory for that using the new keyword. And in here you don't have to specify the number of elements. This is the very first thing that we need to note about an array list. With a normal array, using those brackets, reserving memory for the array, you need to specify the number of objects that will be stored inside of an array. But with an array list, the number of elements that can be stored inside of the array list in here can be limitless. One thing worthy of noting. And then from there what we can do is just simply to try and have some objects, but we can do it very much the same way as we did in here. Okay, here let me just get rid of this. Let me just get rid of that, and let me also get rid of this. Remember in here we have said the animal array at position 0 is equals to new cow, and the name of the cow is no. This is exactly what we did. So in other words, we never created an instance of cow, and also we did not create an instance of chicken. And we will look into that, why I decided to do things in that way. All right, here I am. So in here I'm going to first create, okay, let me just do it the very same way as we did in there, so that you can see exactly the problem that this will cause for us. So all right, there it is. So I'm going to say inside of my array list collection, at position 0 I want to have a new cow, and I'm going to call this cow what can I call this? Okay, let me just call this cow Donna. So inside of my array list at position 0 I have an object called Donna, which is a cow. And then secondly, in my animal array list at position 1 I can have a new chicken, which I can call Andrea. Very good. Now one thing that I can do just to see whether the objects have been added successfully, I can run a for each loop, and I can use the animal as the base class, and then I can just call this my animal. And then it needs to traverse through an animal array list. There it is. And then what is it that we want to do when we are inside there? Just to print out a message that tells us that an object has been added inside of an array. So we are just going to say, I'm using interpolation there, so I'm just going to say my animal dot to string, and then remember we are using a variable in here. We are using the variable of animal class. So dot to string, let me just do this. Right, object is added to the array list, array list collection, and then we can just try to print the name of those animals that have been added inside there. So I can say my animal dot, and I should have access to name there. Very good. So I can traverse through the for each loop just to enlighten me of how many objects do I have inside of my animal array list. And let's just wait for it to load up before we can have the results on the screen. Okay, it's going to take some little time, but it will eventually just load up. It will load up. I could have just commented the entire code in here so that we cannot be disturbed, but okay, that is fine. We can have this, no, but this is going to be confusing. Let's just wait. Oh, there is an unhandled exception. Okay, that is fine. Where did the exception? Okay, so we are here, and I'm having my animal dot to string, and then I am traversing through an array. So animal array list, here it is at position 0 I have Donna, and at position 1 I have a chicken. So why is it when I try to traverse through inside here I am having some problems? So what I'm going to do is just simply to comment all this. Let me just comment until we reach here. Right, let us just try to run this once again. Alright, we are having a problem in here. And let us check where the position is. Must be non-negative and less than the size of the collection. Parameter index. Object value line 33. There seems to be a problem in line 33. So animal array list at position 0 equals new cow, which is Donna, and at position 1 new chicken, which is Andrea. So there seems to be a problem there. There seems to be a problem. So it looks like chicken is at position 0 and Andrea and cow is at position 1. There seems to be something like that in here. So I don't know what is causing that, but let us try to swap the values and see whether the problem will be resolved. So let's just wait for it to run very quickly before we can do anything else. We still have an exception in there, and the line is still line 33. Okay, all right. Do you see what has transpired here? I have not yet added these objects inside of the list. Oh, I'm very sorry for that. I have not yet added these elements inside of a list. The very first thing I should have done is to add. I should have added that. Alright, so let me just come here and use the dot. You just say animal array list dot, and then when you type A, you will have the add method there. And then what does the add do? It adds an object inside of your array list. I'm very sorry, guys. I'm very sorry. We need to use the add there because this is an array list, so you just have to use the add, and then you are adding those objects inside of your array list using the add way. So I tried to use the normal array way of approach. Can you see that it doesn't work? It doesn't work the same way as you use an array list. So this is how you add. I'm very sorry for that, guys. Very sorry. So we have just added a new cow, Donna, inside of our array list, and Andrea also has been added inside of your array list. And now when we print out, we will be able to find the values. I'm very sorry we don't do things the same in here. I'm very sorry for that. So let us continue, and then this is what you will get. Normally the very same thing that we got in a normal array, it will say Donna and Andrea has been added, but the way in which they are added are different. Here we can say animal array. Inside of your array at position 0 you are adding Noah and Lee when you use these brackets as an array. But in here, when you say animal array list, then you have to add the objects via the add method, and then that would add inside of your array. So this is the first difference that we need to look at between a normal array and a more advanced way of looking at arrays. Okay, that is fine. And then secondly, one more thing that I think we should have, let us just check how many elements are inside of this array. So I'm just going to come here, copy this and paste it in there, and then just make some few changes. So I'm going to use the variable, the instance name. So I'm just going to use this one. It's a variable, so I'm going to say my animal array list, and then when you press the dot, we don't have count in here. Sorry, we don't have the length. There is no length in here. Remember, if we wanted to find the number of objects that are inside of our array, a normal array, we used the length. But with an array list, you use count. There is a property there which we call count that will be able to return for us the number of objects that are inside of your array. And when we just try to run that, we will have the following. Let's just wait for it to load. Okay, there it is. Array collection contains 2 objects, and that is true. We only have 2 objects, Donna and Andrea, and their names were printed out. So instead of using the length property, we are using the count property, and then it will count for us how many objects are inside of your animal array list. So something worthy of us noting. So let us just try to have the same access as we did with a normal array. Try to have access to the lay eggs, milk, and feed. Let us try to check how we can do that. So we can say animal array list at specific position, at position 0 dot. And when you do this, you are going to have some problems. You cannot have or access the methods that are inside of either animal or chicken or cow in this way. What we need to do in here, you need to cast. So remember how we cast. We just have the, because I want to have access to the method feed which is inside of the animal class. So you are going to say animal, and then you will say animal array list, and then at a specific position 0, and then you will say now outside here you will say dot. And then now when you say dot, you have a property that is found inside of animal which is name, and you also have a method which we call feed. So it will tell me that the object at position 0 has been fed and the object at position 1 has been fed. So at position 0 we have a cow, at position 1 we have chicken. So it will say Donna has been fed and Andrea has also been fed. So let us just try to run through that and check whether it will do exactly what we want or not. And there it is. Array collection contains 2. Donna has been fed and Andrea has been fed. So it's something that you and I understand very, very much. So we need to be very careful there. You can't just say animal array at position 0 dot feed. Here you have to cast animal, because the method that you want to have access to is inside of animal. Therefore you will have access to it in this way. So this casting can continue. Let me just copy this, And then if I want to have the access to the methods that are inside of chicken, I'm going to say chicken, and I'm going to say cow. But I need to be very careful. Remember, at position 0 I have a cow, and at position 1 I have a chicken. So here, let me not do things in the wrong way, sorry. Let me say cow, and here let me say chicken. And then let me just comment the thread for now so that we can try and speed up our code. And let us try to see what we will have from there. And this is what we have. Donna has been fed, and oh sorry, these are not the methods that I wanted. I'm very sorry. In here I want to have access to dot milk. I want to have access to the method milk, and also in here I want to have access to the method lay eggs. And then let us try to run this. So there it is. Donna has been milked and Andrea has laid an egg. What would happen if I swap this? I say 1 here and I say 0 there. So what am I saying by that? I'm saying that cow object is at position 1 inside of my animal array list, and that of chicken is at position 0. Will this work? As you can see, there's no problem here. This is not a compile time problem. Let's see whether it will be a runtime error. There is an exception, you see. Now let us try to look at the exception now. And then it says unable to cast object of type ArrayList object.chicken to type ArrayList object.cow. So what does that mean in line 42? In line 42 there's a problem. At position 1 you don't have a cow, you have a chicken. So we are making a mistake there. So what we need to do, we have to be very careful here. A cow is at position 0 and chicken is at position 1. Very important. So here at position 0 it's a cow, at position 1 it's a chicken. So you need to be very careful with the indexing here. You need to access an element that you know exactly it is at that specific index. You cannot just do as you wish, or else you will have some problems. Okay, be that as it may, I'm trying to do an interactive learning here so that we may see our problems. So thus far I can argue and say this array is exactly the same as that. The way in which we access the element, it's pretty much the same way. There is no much difference between this and that, as you saw. Just that the difference here, when we are adding elements inside of the array list, we use the add method. That is fine. So are there any special functionalities that can be exposed by the array list that we did not find inside of a normal array? This is the question, and I think we need to look deeper into this. So let us have a write line, and in this write line I just want us to have a heading that says additional manipulation of array list. This is just something that I want us to have. So I can go inside of my animal array list, and I can use the dot. And now look what we have access to. We can add, when you click in here, we add an object to the end of the array list. So it has a capability of adding objects inside of the array list, which was not possible with a normal array. And we can have add range, and we can do many things. We can clone, we can copy to, we can count. We did use that one. We can insert range, we can, there are more fun. We can set the range, we can reverse, we can sort. So there are more functionalities that are exposed in the array list as opposed to a normal array, and one of them is the remove method. So we are going to remove it. And then what is it that we are going to remove there? So the remove it, if you hover over here, removes the element at a specified index of the array list. So it accepts an integer. If I say 0 there, therefore it is going to remove an object at position 0, which is a cow. This is exactly what it is going to do. And I can try to check whether that is true. And then let me just come here, and I think I should just have a right line, and in this right line we just have a line there. Okay, the mouse, there it is. Let me just close it. And what I want us to do there, let's just run to verify whether the object at index 0 has been removed. And there it is. When we traverse through the array in here, when we traverse through it, we can see that we only have Andrea, and who was removed. Donna was removed, and we only have one object inside there, which is Andrea. So the method has been accomplished successfully. So right. And then what is it that I can also do inside of there? I can try to add range. So I can take an array like this one, this array that we have in here. Let me just do this. Let me just do that. So what I can do in here, I can add a range there. I can come here and say animal array list dot, and I can add a range. And what range can I add there? I can add the animal array inside of this, and when you hover over this method, add range, okay, that is fine. If you stand here, it adds the elements of an I collection to the end of the array list. So because I have a collection of objects in here that I call animal array, and there are 2 objects, it will be able to add those objects inside of my animal array. At the end of the array list, it will add animal array. And just to check whether this is true, let me copy this and let me just paste. And then one thing that I'm going to do is to check whether they have been added or not. So let us try to check. And let us check. You see, it has added Noah and Lee. And then remember, please, it adds at the end of your array. Please check something here. Remember, in our array list, we have Andrea because we removed Donna. Then at the end of this array list, it added Noah and Lee. And where are they? There they are, Noah and Lee. So what does that tells you now? Is that Andrea is at position 0, Noah position 1, and Lee at position 2. Something very important worthy of noting. Okay, that is fine. What else can I do? There are many things that you saw that you can do there. You can just practice with them. So I can just, for example, try to find the index. I can try to find the index of a few animals. So I want to do that using a for each loop. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to do this, and I want to show you now the problem that I might find myself in. If I come in here and I want to know the index of each object that I have in there, I'm going to have the problem. So if I say the animal, for example, called, and then I want to have the animal, sorry, my animal, and when I use the dot there, so I can say the animal called this, I can say, for example, is at index, and then I can try to say, okay, let me go inside of my animal array list, and then when I am inside there, let me try to find the index. I can use the dot, and there is a method that we call index of, and then in the index of, that's where I have to specify which object do I want to find the index of. Now I'm having a problem in here. Now check where the problem is. I have never created an instance of an animal. I don't have any instance in here. So what I can do, please check very well, I can remove this, and I can create an instance of cow. I can say cow, and I can say cow. Okay, let's say my cow 1 equals new cow, and I can give it a name and say you are Noah. And now what I can do, I can go to my animal array at position 0 and now add my cow 1. This is something that I can do there. The very same thing that I have done there, I can come here, and what I can do now, I can remove this, and I can say okay, let me not use cow this time. Let me just do this. Let me just do this. Let me just do this. Good. Let me come here, and what I can do, I can create an instance of chicken. I can say chicken, and I can say my chicken 1 equals new chicken, and I can give it a name and say what was the name there? Okay, what was the name? Donna. Okay, I'll just say Lee. let's just leave it, and I can enclose there. And then what I can do there, I can now say okay, we have cow, chicken, and I can use the add method there. So I can come here and say animal array list dot add, and I can add my chicken there. Have we added Donna? Yes, we have. So here I'm just trying to create an instance of my chicken and also an instance of my cow one, because you cannot find an index here without specifying it has to accept. It is very important. You must pass in an instance here, an object. So let me just say, for example, my chicken. So let me come here and just say my chicken one. And to be honest, I don't have to use a for each for this. I honestly do not need this. I honestly do not need that, because it's not like I'm going to traverse inside of a for each and then search for the name, the index of every element. No, not every object I have instantiated there, so only for a few that I have. So let me just come here, get rid of this, and then just say animal array list, use the dot there, sorry, the dot there, right? So let us just use the dot there. So this is just to say the animal called, you see now we are having a problem there. When I try to do it in that way, we are having a problem, because here you must pass in the instance of this name that you want. So I'm just going to say my chicken one. So the animal called this is at index of, and then it will tell me the index there. So it will say the animal called whatever the name is at index, and then it will give me the index of that. So I can just copy this and paste, and then instead of using my chicken there, I can use what else do we have? An instance. We have okay, we have my chicken one, and what else? My cow. So I can come here and say my cow one, and I can also come here and say my cow one, and then it will be able to specify to me at what index they are in, at what specific index they are in. So you can see, sorry, the animal called Lee is at index 0, and the animal called Noah is at index 1. So there are a variety of things that one can do in there. And then we can do a lot of things. We can change the names of these objects and so on. There are a lot of things that one can do in there. For example, we can go to my cow one dot name, and I can change the name there to call this Mary. And then when I come here, if I have a print out, copy this, let us just try to copy that and paste and then I can say the animal is now called, and I can just have this, I can just remove this, and then it will tell me that it is now called a particular name. So there are quite a number of things that we can do with array list as opposed to a normal array. And this is just something, guys, which I thought it was very important, something that is worthy of sharing with you. And the animal is now called Mary. So I want to thank you very much, guys, for your time, for watching this tutorial, and I will see you in the next tutorial.